Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Think finding a soulmate to hitch your wagon to is tough? Just wait till you see how difficult it is to find a trusted advisor to handle your money.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement with best-selling author and fiduciary Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
When I was back in high school, back in the late 70s, you met members of the opposite sex either at school, cruising around in your car at the local drive-in, maybe even the park, or skating around at the roller rink. Just to reminisce a little bit about that period of time of dating girls and trying to find Mrs. Right, reminds me of how I met my wife of now more than 37 years, Susan, which happened to be the first meeting we had at Bowling Green High School in the library. Now, in those days, communicating and finding others to date was limited to those who you could physically come in contact with and see. There were no cell phones back then. You couldn't just send somebody a text. You sure couldn't log on to the internet to see who in the world on the World Wide Web might be available. No, in those days you began dating, which for me and Susan included aimlessly riding around town in my 62 Volkswagen Beetle, or going to one of our numerous school dances, which we did for nearly 7 years throughout high school and college. And then, as best you could, you had the goal of trying to just hang on and officially tie the knot when and only if you graduated college. Whew, gets me tired just thinking about it. Well, today we have a whole different paradigm of dating. You see, thanks to the internet, you no longer have to try to meet those of the opposite sex in the high school library or riding around town or hanging out at the local roller rink. No, all you have to do is enter a few bits of information and randomly somebody's going to show up that you might want to consider dating. In fact, to kind of add fuel to this whole proverbial, how do I find somebody to date, there's even something called speed dating. Haven't heard of it? Well, basically the idea is you spend a few minutes with random strangers at a restaurant or a town hall or wherever they've got this set up, and you try to meet people as quickly as you can, and hopefully you find out that it's Mr. or Mrs. Right, which unfortunately is what's happening a lot with you out there searching for financial advisors. Well, welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that financial dating specialist, Tony Walker. I am a fiduciary and been in business 36 years, and I am host of the Worry-Free Retirement, but it wouldn't be the same if I didn't introduce America's favorite financial sidekick. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about this particular topic, Mr. Aaron Orander, and sitting in the wings working on our television show, Mr. Derek Hudson. Derek, you're too young for all this dating stuff, right? We won't even ask Derek, but all right, Aaron, what do you think of our topic? I know you can't wait to see how I'm going to tie this to the financial world, but you've got to be sitting over there reminiscing a little bit. I'm going to catch you off guard. I've never asked you. You heard a little bit about how I met Susan. How in the world did you and Jessica first meet?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, and hope things are well with you, sir.
Absolutely.
Second, Jess and I actually met in college. We actually worked on a play together. I was one of the actors cast in the play, and she was one of the, there was a choir in this particular play, and she was cast as one of the choir leads. So through a month, 2 months worth of just rehearsing and getting to know each other, we just, I called her up one night during the summer. I'll never forget it. I was sitting on my my grandparents' back steps, and I just called her and I asked her if she wanted to go get something to eat, and she said, I would love to go get something to eat with you. And so I went and picked her up. We can't remember what restaurant we went to, though, on our first date.
Oh,
I
she
hate
was
that.
probably just staring in your eyes. And
Yeah,
just,
that's right. We were
matter.
just so enamored with each other. Yeah, no, I hate it. Both of our memories are just shot, I guess. I don't know. But we can't remember what exactly the restaurant was we went to for our first date.
By the way, that dating and all that reminiscing, 3 kids will do that to the old memory, Aaron. All right, so I guess what would be your guess? So the topic is how people are meeting people today to date. You met in college. I met my wife, Susan, in high school. You had that physical interaction. You get to know people. How long did you all date before you married, by the way? Do you mind me asking?
We dated for a year and a half.
That's okay. Yeah, we dated on and off for 7 years, if you can.
Okay.
But anyway, so what's interesting, though, we've got some clients, actually. Most of our clients, folks, are over the age of 65, and many of those folks are using the internet to find future spouses, and some of them very successfully. And this surprised me because I always thought, finding somebody over the internet, you got to be kidding me. Here's a recent study, Aaron, and now this is the last one I found on the internet, speaking of the internet. It is estimated, here it is, Aaron, that 39% of married couples met on the internet.
That's insane to me. I guess I just missed that mark, because any date I ever went on, I did not meet that person online. I met the girl at a party. She was a friend of a friend's. There was some type of personal connection there.
I'm like you. That shocked me. But I guess we're thinking about how people interact. People interact very loosely on Facebook. They're willing to share personal information. So you might be saying, okay, Tony, where are you going with this? This is a retirement planning show, not a dating show, is it? Well, we're going to show you how the financial world, through the internet and other means, is trying to court you for your money. And unfortunately, some of you are almost participating in what we call financial speed dating. So when I come back, we're going to reminisce a little bit. We're even going to go back farther than my childhood. We're going to go way back into my granddad's childhood, all the way through his years at Bell South, and talk about what he would think about financial speed dating in his day and what that has to do with you and your money. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. We care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am Tony Walker, and as I think about the way people are finding other soulmates on the internet, and we're going to get into this in a minute, but just this whole notion of relationships and trust, and I got to thinking about my granddad, who, if you keep up with Tony Walker Financial or a little bit about my story, you may know that I spent a lot of time in my early years with my grandparents. Parents divorced when I was young, and just really spent a lot of time with, I called him Dad-All. So go back in time. Dad-All was born in 1914, got out of high school right in the middle of the Depression in 32. When Bell South offered him a job, Aaron, you think he took it, or do you think he checked around for
No,
other
he
openings?
probably jumped on LinkedIn and, checked around for 3 months. No, of course, I'm sure he took it. Yeah.
LinkedIn, indeed. Actually, we're hiring another position. We're going to be up to 10 people in Bowling Green. But yeah, that indeed is pretty amazing. We found some good prospects off there for job applicants. Anyway, so when he went to work with Bell South, he was just glad to have a job. They promised him if he would stay with them, which he did until 1978 when he retired. Here's what retirement looked like in 1978. And I bring this up here because that's when I graduated high school. We started off the show, if you're just joining us, folks, with when I was in high school, met my wife Susan. Obviously, she was in high school. And we got married some 7 years later. So back then, Aaron, my granddad had a pension that was going to be promised to him. He had his mailbox money. Social Security was not in question. Nowadays, everybody worries about it. Everybody was very, very confident about Social Security, so he didn't worry about that going broke. Back then, they provided all your health insurance. Now, he didn't think much about that, but can you imagine today an employer, that's equivalent of like $1,000, $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
And he just got it for free. Back then, there was no internet, no cell phones. It was very expensive to use long distance. Well, as a employee of Bell South, he got free long distance in retirement. That was a huge perk.
That was a huge thing, I'm
huge
sure.
Thing.
Yeah.
There were no credit cards. He didn't have any debt. He had already paid off his little house in Troy, Kentucky. Here was another biggie back then, Aaron. Since people went through the Depression, he never spent more money than what was coming in the front door.
Smart man.
Yeah, very smart. He did not live above his means. So the thought of him, even if there was an internet, can you imagine, Granddad, why would he even need to try to search for a financial advisor? What would he need a financial advisor for under those conditions?
It doesn't sound like he would need one, honestly. No. I mean, if you've got your mailbox money coming in every month, you don't spend more than that check is, then you're probably okay.
Don't have any gadgets and gizmos. Mm-hmm. I remember we had one TV when I'd hang out down there, and when storms came, that was bad because he had an antenna on the top of the roof. And you all listening to this may remember that bad weather would mess with those antennas. They'd get all fuzzy, but it was no big deal. It was free.
Now, did your granddad work on his own car a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I think that's gone the way of the dinosaurs. Just, I remember my dad and my grandfather, when something broke, they fixed it.
Oh, you're right about that. He was an engineer with Bell South, so you're right. He could fix anything. Now, the only thing he'd do, he was he was tighter than a drum, but he would always get a good set of tires, and that would be the only thing he'd have to pay for.
Only thing he'd have to take it into the shop
for.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. He didn't. That's a good point. So he fixed everything. He was pretty worry-free when it came to money. So now we fast forward to the recording of this date, December 15th, 2020, and most of you don't have pensions. Many of you are concerned about Social Security. Some of you still have debt. Some of you are kind of nervous about your job. It's not as secure maybe as it was. Maybe you had 6 people helping you with this one job duty. Now there's you and somebody else. I'm running into that a lot, Aaron. People will say, you know what, I don't know if they're trying to run me off or what, but I'm getting overworked. They're just piling more on people. So if that's you, and you've got this 401k out there that you have no clue what to do with when you retire, well, let me pose it to you, Aaron. Try to put yourself in, let's say somebody's 62 years of age, job is not going well, they're wanting to possibly retire, they don't know if they have enough money, they don't know when to take Social Security, their 401k, they're worried it might look like a 201k if it nosedives again. What would you do if you were that person? How would you go about finding a financial advisor?
I'd probably jump on the internet and type in
Yeah,
financial advisors, and it would probably autofill to financial advisors in Louisville, Kentucky, or financial advisors near me, or something.
I tell you, Derek, real quick, while you're over, do you have a minute to go on the internet where you are and just type in financial advisors, and what pops up there, Derek, real quick?
First person, top 10 financial advisors in Louisville, Smart Asset. Number 1 is ARGI Investment Services.
There you go. I've heard of them.
KPP Advisory Services.
Huh. Are those paid ads? Are they on the top, you think, with paid, or is it hard to say?
Promoted ad, but it is the first listing.
Which means
that there could be some amount of.
Okay, good enough. Yeah, so those are, so let's say you do that, Aaron. You just start scrolling along the internet. You get down to, how many are you gonna look at? I bet there's probably 1,000 firms in Louisville.
Yeah. Probably going to look at 5.
Okay.
5 to
and
10.
You're going to rely on the internet. Those were the top. Yeah. How do you really know they're the
Everything
top?
on there's true, so
See, that's what tickles me. Just because something pops up, that's the first thing. You just assume, hey, they got to the top of the list. We don't know if they bought ads. We don't know if they've done good digital marketing and they're up high on the Google. So here's the point, folks. Once you get on that internet and start clicking around, you are putting a lot of blind faith into that internet. This is why at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, we put so much information on our website. So if you're on the internet, what I would encourage you to do when you're going to these various firms, and some of them are very reputable, we're not getting on any of them, but I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. When you go to these firms, the first thing you want to look for with any firm, go to their website, is what type of educational information are they providing on their site. That's the first thing. If they're not, we've got, Aaron, I just kind of run through all the different things, blogs, YouTube channels, and how people can find out more about us. They don't even have to talk to us in person. Kind of go through some of the things.
Oh, yeah.
There's
all kinds of ways you can find us online, folks. If you're riding down the road here, listening to the show, you want to listen to other radio shows, you can just go to soundcloud.com, type in Worry-Free Retirement, and we'll pop right up there. You can listen to past shows. If you want to watch the television show where Tony gets more in depth with graphics and things of that nature, just go to youtube.com, type in Tony Walker Financial, click search, and you'll see Tony's smiling face right there. Just click on that. You're going to find all kinds of videos on our YouTube channel. We've got past episodes. We've got past webinars. We've got Q&As with special guests. We've got all kinds of information that way. And then finally, if you just want more information, go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You can find our blog posts there. You can find out information about what an annuity is, how it works, how the 5-step process works for Tony. So you can just go to any one of those three.
Yeah, and that's the point. And then when will this show be on approximately, Aaron?
This show's going to air in about a month, so it'll be towards the end of January.
Okay, so we will by then. Also, we've got some great booklets. Like I've written a booklet called 401k Rollovers Made Easy. If you want to learn about how do you roll over a 401k from a previous employer or current employer. I updated my booklet on annuities. It's called Annuities Made Easy. Folks, I've done as many annuities as anybody in the country. I've worked with these products. I know them. Our latest booklet that should be online now, if you want to look at our investment side with Charles Schwab, whether that's our custodian, Investments Made Easy. So the first thing you want to make sure of is this person or persons you're thinking about talking to, are they educationally oriented to helping you understand your options? Okay, that's number one. The second thing, and actually this is less important, people make a big deal out of this. We are fiduciaries, by the way, but you definitely want to make sure they are fiduciaries. Now, Aaron, between you and I on the fence post, I've seen a few of these fiduciaries and how they behave. So a fiduciary just says they're supposed to, by law, work in your best interest. A fiduciary really is held to a higher standard. Whether they're going to keep that standard or not, I've seen some fiduciaries actually go to prison. So just because somebody's a fiduciary, folks, doesn't mean they have a halo over their head, but it certainly is important to make sure they're a fiduciary. And then finally, when you're going to these websites, what you must do is you want to look at the staff behind the advisor. Who are the people backing up the advisor? When we come back, I'm going to go through our staff and our process because it's really, really important to think through this dating game. So think about this. You're dating an advisor. You're trying to find out about them. You probably, although me and Susan dated a little bit around, you know what helped me when I dated a few people around? We had we had some of those times where we were on the outs over 7 years.
Yeah.
You know why it was so good for me to date a few other people?
Because you realized how great Susan was.
Woo, there you go.
You're welcome, Susan.
Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But no, really, I
had that ready.
But I went, whoa, wait a minute. Sometimes people will be in talking to me and they'll say, and they look at me real sheepishly. Now, I hope you don't mind. I'm talking to other advisors and I'm thinking, I have no problem with that at all. Now, I think when they see what we do in our game plan, I had a lady today that's doing business. She said, Tony, I'm 61. I've never had anybody show me a game plan like this. All my stuff laid out. It's awesome what we can lay out for you so you understand what you're going to have. But that staff is really important. So when we come back, we're going to continue this financial dating game. We're going to talk about making sure the financial advisor, first of all, has a repeatable process, why that's important, and also the staff behind the advisor and the family. Think of it as a family. Remember, you're going to need a support family, the family behind the advisor. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Warning, a licensed insurance agent with no prior knowledge of annuities can legally toss your 401k into an annuity. Don't make that mistake. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com before ever purchasing an annuity.
The stock market at my age? You gotta be kidding. I need to put my money someplace where it's safe.
Investing all of your money in the stock market can be pretty scary stuff, which is why I created the Worry-Free Split IRA concept, a concept that allows you to invest in the stock market without the fear of running out of money. Learn more about the split IRA concept and how to safeguard more of your money by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. I am retirement specialist Tony Walker, and I just wanted to take just a couple of minutes to share with you a little bit about my story, my history in this business, and how we've become so successful in helping savers worry less about money. You know, over the past 35 years, I didn't always focus on the saver personality, as I like to call it. Years ago, I used to do a lot of money management. In fact, I've been licensed to sell securities and insurance products since 1986. So I've been able to see all of the major downturns the stock market can offer. But quite frankly, the worst downturn that I experienced personally in my practice was the tragic event of 9/11. You see, right before 9/11, if you go back in time, you could throw a dart at a dartboard and pick your stocks. Everything was doing well. And I guess I took it for granted that everything would always go up. In fact, most of my clients during the 90s were in the stock market and doing very, very well, quite frankly. But then, when they flew into those Twin Towers and everything came tumbling down, not only the Twin Towers, but for 3 years in a row, the stock market went down. I realized that, you know what? I don't like risking my money, and I don't like risking the money of my clients. So following 9/11, I took about the task of trying to find a product and a process that would not only protect my clients' money, but show them how to use and enjoy it, and thus the worry-free retirement process was born. Now, just to clear up some confusion, a lot of people know that we do a lot of annuities. In fact, some people kid in my business, call me the annuity king, because personally I've written about as many annuities as anybody in the country. So yes, I love fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, and fixed interest annuities. By the way, sometimes people will talk about variable annuities. We do not do variable annuities due to the risk and high fees associated with them. But besides writing a ton of annuities, I still have my roots buried in the investment world. So contrary to what many of our competitors might say, we do provide a great investment platform, one of the lowest cost investment platforms in the industry, currently using Charles Schwab as our custodian. So not only do you get myself with 35 years of experience, but you also get varying products. You get annuities. We offer life insurance. We have investment products through our Charles Schwab platform. And most importantly, you get a team of service experts that's going to be with you in retirement long after the sale. You see, folks, retirement is not just a one-shot deal. You don't leave your employer and roll your 401k over to somebody and say, I've got a retirement plan. Retirement planning is much, much more. In fact, there's a huge difference between a retirement planning specialist such as us and maybe what you would call a wealth manager or money manager or even a financial advisor. So not only are we fiduciaries, but all we do is retirement planning. So that sounds like you. If you feel like nobody's really in your corner, if you don't have a written game plan that you can follow and monitor, if you feel like maybe you got too much money at risk, or that your advisor is not really paying close attention to the details of taxes and fees and Social Security, all that goes into understanding retirement planning, why don't you give us an opportunity? There's no cost or obligation to meet with me in person. If you're retired or nearing retirement, we can help. So why don't you just click on the Let's Get Started button, and when you click on that button, here's what's going to happen. Your information is confidentially sent to our office. We don't share that information with outsiders whatsoever. You will be then contacted and arrange either a phone call with myself or to meet in person to discuss your situation. Well, I look forward to talking to you soon. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here, and we're talking about financial speed dating, something my granddad, who retired in 1978 with his beloved mailbox money, never had to worry about. Never had a financial advisor in his life. I'd say if one ever came on his property, he'd probably run him off. He didn't need it. But that's not the case. You and I do, and that's the business I'm in, is trying to help savers worry less about money. And right before we closed out the last segment, it dawned on me, Aaron, I have never, ever thought about it. Oh, I've thought about it, but never in these words. You know, when I was dating Susan, I not only got Susan in the deal, but I got a wonderful family.
Package deal.
More specifically, nothing against her siblings, I don't mean it this way, but her mother and father. I mean, her father got me in the business. And her mother was always very nice to me. And there was a time, me and Susan in our marriage had a big knockdown drag out. And guess who I went to about that?
Her dad.
Parents. Yeah, both of them.
Both of them.
And they set us both down. And it was so calming to realize how supportive they were of us. And they got us calmed down. And I thought, man, to just have that support of people that really cared about me. And what's happened over the years at Tony Walker Financial, and I've been so fortunate, folks. You know, I got in this business in 1984, went on my own in 1989. For a while, worked by myself. I mean, I didn't have really squat. I just tried to keep it together. Fortunately, speaking of my wife, we were married then, and she worked as a nurse and worked nights and weekends to really keep the thing going. But I look back at that time, and I'm thinking, golly, where I've come from and the support, not only from family, even my family's always been so encouraging, my mom and brother and my dad while he was alive. But basically the support of the staff, you know, started out with a couple staff members. Now we're up to, including you and Derek, and I'm getting ready to hire another one. I've got 15, besides me, 15 full-time employees. Besides myself, there are 3 other full-time fiduciaries. They mainly provide a supportive role to me. So I pretty much meet with everybody that comes through these doors at least once, usually a lot more. I'm here for my clients. I'm accessible. Many firms will not do that, folks. You have to be careful. Usually there's a lead dog out there kind of running the show. And once they get your money, you got to be really careful. In fact, I just ask them, how often am I going to get to meet with the owner of the company? You know what most of them would say? You've got to be kidding me. In fact, many owners of these big, huge firms, Aaron, I don't know, they sure don't live in Kentucky. I don't know where they live, but they're not going to be accessible. You're going to be a number. So at Tony Walker Financial, I'm very, very grateful that not only did I have a family to support me, but also from a standpoint of supporting you, our clients or potential clients, you need to know that there's a huge family of support at Tony Walker Financial, even if something were to happen to me. We have a neighbor, Aaron, and the guy's only a couple years older than me. He literally just dropped dead the other day. And another neighbor in our same neighborhood 2 years ago, ironically, they were golfing buddies. He died of a heart attack. So these, 59, 60 years of age. It happens. And you know what both spouses have commented on? My wife was talking to both spouses, just how supportive all the friends and the neighbors have been. So you have to remember something. The second thing I want to point out, many of you, especially if you're still married, I just met with a widower today, his spouse died this year. Many of you have possibly one of the spouses, ironically in his case, his wife kept up with the money. So when she passed away, he said, I always made the money, but you always handled it. He said, to be honest, Tony, I got to rely on you. He doesn't know what to do with this money. So you got to think through this also when you're doing this financial speed dating thing. All right, let's say the advisor's around and I can depend on the advisor. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They'll be here a long time. But what happens if the spouse that handles the money or at least understands what's going on, what happens if they die or go in a nursing home?
Then the other spouse is in trouble.
Not
in trouble, but they don't know what to do.
Here's the thing, Aaron, what I found. Most people don't have a game plan, written game plan.
Right.
So maybe the advisor's doing a good job. The spouse that knows about money is okay with the advisor. The spouse that knows about money dies or goes to the nursing home. Then all of a sudden you got this other spouse looking at this advisor going, I don't really know what you're doing. Sometimes they'll question them. And that's why, folks, you've got to have a written game plan. So as you check off the list there and you're doing your financial speed dating thing, maybe you've been attending dinner seminars, whatever you're doing to find a trusted advisor, let me invite you before you commit, I like that word, before you commit to any relationship, one that's going to be there for the long term, that's set up to deal with your retirement, not just after the sale, but long into the future. Why don't you give us an opportunity to talk? It's easy to do. We can do it one of two ways. We have a brand new service called a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button. We can talk to you by phone to see what you need, see if it warrants an appointment. If we need an in-person appointment, we can do that too. Again, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the Let's Get Started, or call 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. Next week, we're going to talk about an episode on Star Trek and what Leonard Nimoy and Captain Kirk. I went blank, Aaron. What
Captain
they
Kirk.
have to do with understanding something called fees. Good stuff coming your way, but between now and then, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
You don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it. Shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.